A good Saturday morning. How about some hockey with that breakfast? The third and final scrimmage of VGK Development Camp presented by Martin Harris Construction, taking place any minute here at City National Arena. As we welcome you inside Studio 31, Ashley Weiss and Brian McCormack hanging out with you this morning. And Brian, what a week it's been. Jam-packed both on and off the ice for these prospects. And this, their final opportunity to show the organization what they got before development camp is over.
You know, Ashley, I feel a little bit guilty. You said good Saturday morning, and I realized whether it was maybe people skipping out a little early on Thursday or yesterday's morning scrimmage. This is the first time I feel like for a lot of the fans we're not getting them out of something. We're not getting them out of work, but what a better way to start your weekend than this. You're absolutely right. It's the last scrimmage. We've seen a couple of really spirited, fun, skilled performances the last couple of days, but today's format, yesterday we saw it loosened up a little bit. We saw some 4-on-4, some 3-on-3. It seems that today's is going to be a lot more strict, traditional 5-on-5, and for I think two reasons. First of all, for a season ticket member event, you can't fit another person in there, so you want to give them the best show possible. And for these players, as much fun as this week has been, they are trying to make an impression, so let them do it in the most traditional setting you can of playing a regular game, because as much as players have certainly taken every aspect of this week seriously, this might be the one where we see the most competitive fire for that last impression.
Absolutely. Like you said, 5-on-5 for all three periods. There will be penalties. There will be stoppages. No shootout today unless
it's warranted.
This game ends in a tie. And speaking of that, the red team has taken each of the previous two contests 2-1, but really goaltending has been the story so far, and that's good for the goaltenders, but maybe we see some flash, maybe we see some extra goals here today. I wouldn't complain about that. Well,
we definitely saw a flash from Marcus Stoppa out of Michigan University yesterday, as he had both ultimately the game-winning goal, but also a bit of a razzle-dazzle turnout in the shootout. But one of the benefits of this week, Ashley, is that you and I, and we're not the only ones, but you and I have had an opportunity to talk to so many different people.
Yep.
And it was fun to get the perspective of Rick Bennett, who's going to be the head coach of the Savannah Ghost Pirates in the ECHL. But one of the things he was asked was, what do you think about the goaltending? He just laughed because it's been that good, the goaltending on all ends. And I'd say yesterday, of the players who really stood out, Carl Lindbaum for white, Jesper Vickman for red. But it's been a goaltending show all weekend long. And I'm sure, again, for players looking to make that lasting impression, the goal scorers want to prove that they're goal scorers before this week is out.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone in particular you are keeping your eye on today? I know they say Brendan Brisson has another level, and he's a prospect fans are very excited about.
For sure. Brendan Brisson is a player that has that natural skill set. And, even he was a player that Kelly McCrimmon brought up earlier this week after the first day of free agency, just talking about how, there's going to be opportunity at the NHL level for a lot of players to prove themselves. And he said, offhandedly, but maybe Brendan Brisson proves that he's an NHLer at some point this season. Who knows? We're going to learn a lot over the course of a season, but he certainly has that natural skill set that they're so excited about. A player that I'm curious about, a player that's one of the older players here, one of the more seasoned guys here, Connor Corcoran. And we've been talking about players who have great one-time releases, and you start that conversation with Brendan Brisson. Lots of young guys like Jacob Brabinitz has had a really good week. Young guys who still have time to prove themselves and still, a lot of track in front of them. Connor Corcoran has spent the majority of the last two seasons in the ECHL, and injuries factor into that a little bit as well. But he had, in his stints with the Silver Knights in the AHL this past season, 12 games. He scored 5 goals, 3 of them on the power play. He has a tremendous one-time release. He's a really good offensive defenseman, and he's a guy, again, you climb the ladder one rung at a time. He's a guy that I think is looking for a more regular role and a larger role and a more permanent role in the AHL first thing first this coming season. So, he's had a good weekend, and he's a player that I'm curious to see how he utilizes this summer to make that next step, and that includes today.
What's been cool, too, is everything they've done off the ice. We'll dive into that a little bit more as the stream goes on. But last night, for the first time of the week, they made it out to the Strip, saw a Cirque du Soleil show. Some prospects have been here before, but many of them haven't. So probably cool for them to see the glitz and glam that Vegas has to offer, as well as the local areas, like out here in Summerlin.
Really cool. And I think some fans don't, well, maybe they do, but I'm sometimes surprised when you look at the areas that a lot of these kids come from. Some of them come from your Torontos and Bostons, but not all of them come from big cities. So having played junior college at a high level, it's not like they haven't, gotten around the globe a little bit. But for some players, I don't doubt that the opportunity to go to the Vegas Strip, see a show, for a lot of us, we're spoiled to live here, but that's a dream vacation. So it's cool to send that element in too. Some of these activities that they do, it's for the sake of bonding, getting to know one another socially, becoming a prospect family. But there's a little wrinkle of it too, that if I was a kid who grew up on in a Canadian farm town, and I saw that Cirque du Soleil was on the schedule at the end of the week, I'd be looking forward to the end of the week. So it's, as much as development is critical for a camp like this, some things are just fun because they're fun. And I think last night was an example of that.
They went to an Aviators game earlier in the week as well, and perhaps most important, they give back to the community while they're here. That's something that not every organization does, but something they really try to instill in them throughout the week, is that it's not just about hockey when you're part of the Vegas Golden Knights organization. You have to give back. They teamed up with Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada. Midweek, we're helping prepare meals and feed some men and women in the area who could use a little extra pick-me-up. It was a really cool experience. Not only were the people there so grateful that they were, they're helping them out, but they were also thought it was so cool that it was players who are probably going to be Vegas Golden Knights in the future. So really cool that from the top down, that is something that is always harped on. That's something that these prospects understand the second that they come in the organization is going to be important. And we are going to see a lot of these players as Vegas Golden Knights eventually. Some of the notable players on the current VGK roster that have come through this camp include Keegan Kolesar, Zach Whitecloud, Logan Thompson. We're going to see a lot of these guys eventually.
We are, and I think that's something that I know Will Nichols been emphasizing, not just to us, but to the players too, how many success stories there are, not just from development camp week, because as much fun as this is, it's a week. Sometimes a week can change your life, but sometimes a week is just 7 days. But how the development process and the trust in the coaches, the instructors, Scott Jones, who works so hard and travels a lot. Scott Jones will spend, and for those who don't know the name, we talked about him a lot yesterday. He's the skills development coach for the VGK. He will spend a week in Henderson, but then he'll go to Savannah. Then he'll go and meet one of the kids in the NCAA. He'll bounce around to make sure these kids are getting the instruction that they need. So I think it comes down to trust the process, because there are a lot of kids who have seen their ceiling escalate by ways of getting into the organization, listening to instruction, applying what they're told, and being patient. And again, Zach Whitecloud, I think, is the best success story. Yep. But we've heard a lot of Zach Hayes, Braden Pahal as well, guys who slipped through the draft and now are critical pieces going forward for the organization.
Yep, Zach Whitecloud, the perfect example. The players have had a chance to have some Q&As with him and Keegan Kolesar, which is great. But even this morning, we saw Zach Whitecloud just going around for a casual skate, and you saw the prospects lined up on the glass watching him on a Saturday in the offseason. You can only imagine the lessons they're getting just by having Golden Knights players in the facilities this week.
Sometimes we talk about these guys, we call them kids. It's almost like a colloquialism, but
that's just because we're getting old.
That's true, but they also are, they're kids in the sense that they did a tour of T-Mobile Arena. Now, some of these kids have played World Juniors. Brendan Brisson played in Olympics, but there's still some little bit of shock and awe of walking into an NHL building and looking around and saying, wow, this building might erupt someday and I'm going to be the reason why. So when you see the kids pressed up with their noses against the glass to watch NHLers, part of it is the willingness that I want to be like him, and that it's not that far away. But another element of it too, I think, is what this week is meant to do, which is to snap your fingers and say, this is the NHL. That's what this is. This is orientation, and I think that comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. Sometimes it's at Cirque du Soleil. Sometimes it's watching Zach Whitecloud.
Yeah, but a lot of these players getting ready to show why they feel they are getting closer and closer to being ready to be in the National Hockey League. Brian, it looks like face-off between Team Red and Team White quickly approaching. Like we said, the Red team took the first two contests 2-1, but you got to keep an eye out for the White team. They can't be liking that, Brian, and it is their last time to show what they can do.
And for those of you who have been following along with us throughout the week, we had a couple of roster changes yesterday due to a couple of players getting dinged up. No changes today. We have the exact same lineups as we did Friday morning as the puck is dropped and the final scrimmage of development camp is underway. Ivan Morozov on the right wing over the line, dished it to the middle. It bounced back to him. He was stood up nicely by Daniel Chayka, who scored the lone goal for Team White yesterday after the goaltender had been pulled. Left point shot by Rydell, missed the net. Karam's around the boards. and out to center where it's tracked down by Poisson.
Both teams going with 7D. Team Red, though, only 10 forwards.
As the same players, we said the same lineup, so that means the same players absent yesterday are absent today again as Morozov's shot deflected to the corner. There will be no Leighton Ahak. There will be no Zach Dean, no Wilmer Skoog. We will not see Jordan Gustafson, and we will not see Steve Holtz.
Have to revisit that Steve Holtz story, though. An engineering major in college. Could have been working at Tesla this summer.
I guess still can, right? I mean,
still can. Yeah, still can.
What a nice side hustle you could have. Just
it's a heck of a thing to fall back on, I would say.
Pro hockey career, a little light engineering. This puck goes all the way down. This will be icing against Team Red. Again, we're going to play 5-on-5 throughout. Regular stoppages, regular officiating guidelines, as close to a real game scenario as we can get in this summer scrimmage setting, which again, Ashley, these guys are looking to prove themselves. You can learn a lot as a coaching staff from what they do in 4-on-4, 3-on-3, small area games, whatnot. But if you want the players to give you a true representation of what they're capable of, you want to put them in the most traditional setting that you can.
Yep, definitely. And that's what Bruce Cassidy said a few days ago. This is a good opportunity for Bruce Cassidy to be looking for the things that he wants to see. He probably didn't get to see that in the 3-on-3 format yesterday. But he said compete, what you can do through traffic. Those are the two things that are most important to him.
Jesper Vikman making a save on Daniel D'Amato. Here's Ford on the backhand, sliding one in front. That was in D'Amato's skates. Couldn't find it. Bouncing puck giving trouble for Patrick Gay, but he's able to recover. And he'll slide out to center. We've had the goaltenders pretty much going a half-and-half format through the first two games. Jesper Vikman is down one end, and it looks like we have Isaiah Seville between the pipes for Team White.
Vikman went 5 for 5 in the shootout yesterday.
Team Red had some luck in the shootout against Isaiah Seville, utilizing the backhand. But, well, you mentioned it yesterday, Ashley. What a challenge it is for these goaltenders. They came in cold, and they pretty much walked in. They walked right into 4-on-4.
Right into 4-on-4, then 3-on-3, then the shootout. They had no time to get acclimated.
Sometimes baptism by fire isn't the worst thing, especially when you're trying to show what you got. Out to the left point, Chaco tried to slide it across. That was broken up. Good play by Marcus Kelly, who works down the left wing side.
We talk about today being more competitive. We've been told by multiple prospects that there is trash talk between the two teams ahead of these games. We've had some guys mic'd up throughout the week, so I'm hoping when our incredible video team, who's been working so hard this week, gets to go through all that footage, there's some good stuff for the fans to hear.
And I imagine the trash talk makes its way off the ice as well. Like, just knowing the way guys are, if you're in a cooking class, someone's going to be struggling, and he's going to be hearing it.
Yep, cooking class, another thing we didn't talk about pregame that these prospects did early in the week. When I first heard they were doing a cooking class, I thought it might just be for fun, but no, it's because a lot of these guys have either lived at home or lived with billet families. A lot of them will move on to play pro at some level, living on their own for the first time, so they're learning how to make good, healthy meals for themselves.
Corcoran in deep after the pass from Estapa eluded Brendan Brisson. Now the puck was bounced out to center by Donovan. Svetlikov will chase after it in deep. Corcoran is over to close him off as the puck rolls around to the far side. Such couldn't settle it. And now back behind his own net is Jace Weir. Lost the puck to Della Durante. I think it's worth mentioning, Ashley, we talked about the opportunities presented during development camp for some of these free agents. And as low as the scoring has been in these two scrimmages, the guys factoring in largely have been the free agents.
The college free agents have stuck out big time. And, you know, development camp means different things for different players. These free agents are here to prove that they deserve a tryout or a contract, whereas the kids who are already in the organization might be working on, you know, more skill work, more things that they can work on throughout their next season to develop.
About 4.5 minutes gone in this scoreless first period. Penalty coming up against Team Red as Hallam's pass was intercepted, and that draws the whistle. We'll have our first power play of the morning. And it looks like Patrick Gay is the one who's headed off. You know, as we talk about the free agents who, again, are here trying to earn a pro opportunity, whether that be NHL, AHL, ECHL, wherever they can get their foothold, Rick Bennett, the head coach of the Savannah Ghost Pirates, who is here for development camp, chuckled. He said, I'm a rookie too. It's my first development camp. But, it was interesting. He has an opportunity maybe to watch these players, and you can say Manny Viveros and Tim Speltz as well, differently than the NHL staff, because they are looking for guys who can catch their eye. They're some of the ones making those decisions on whether to give that pro offer.
Exactly, and Tim Speltz is going to be joining us during the first intermission.
Just coming off his first season as general manager of the Henderson Silver Knights, but hardly a new face in hockey. He's been heavily involved for over 30 years, largely with the Spokane Chiefs, then time scouting with the Maple Leafs, and then back in a GM chair with the HSK. So it is a power play for Team White as Patrick Gay went off for hooking. Chayka will drop it in his own zone, and Caden Korzak under some forecheck pressure. Good job to take the puck away by Estapa. He'll play it back into his own zone to kill some time. It's interesting, Ashley, some of these players, again, when you're just demonstrating what you do best, there are some players that penalty killing is what they do best. Power play is what they do best. Mm-hmm. And, just it's hard to have chemistry on a power play with some guys that you probably haven't played with before.
Right.
But it is interesting to see how the special teams element of these scrimmages gets better day 3 compared to day 1.
Definitely.
Morozov forces a takeaway. Fleming will slide it out to center. Marcus Kelly, an interesting figure. I think we talk about all of these players and how different their development path might be because of what COVID did, and it just forced creativity. But Kelly, a young player, there was an opportunity for him to spend time in the AHL in the COVID-shortened 2021 season. Then last year spent the whole year in the Western Hockey League. It's going to be interesting a decade from now to look back and see how prospects of this era found their way up the ladder.
Absolutely. A lot of interesting stories. These kids haven't had it easy. They've had to work hard to get looked at. They've had to work hard, find different ways to get their training when in-person training wasn't an option. They weren't able to showcase their skills for seasons at a time, some of them.
There's a nifty little between the legs try by Daniel Borash a bit earlier in the sequence. There's an offside whistle as Hallam had the puck go through his feet. Whistle will be, or face-off, will be in the neutral zone as we get back to 5-on-5 action.
Jackson Hallam, a guy to keep your eye on. He's the fastest guy in camp.
Fastest in camp, and we were told he finished top 5 in fitness testing as well. We underestimate, Ashley, at this young age. Hard work is what's going to get all these guys to the next level. But there are different raw natural gifts that young players have, and sometimes what's his strength? He's a physical specimen. Oh, well, that's good. How does he put that to work? Other guys, it's their hands or whatnot.
Scott Jones told us yesterday it would be nearly impossible for him to get any faster. You don't hear that often.
Hallam has it high slot, backhands down side of the net, sharp angled shot. Kicked away by Vickman. And that was the interesting factor there, Ashley. He probably won't get much faster, and there are some things, technique-wise that we can maybe polish up a little bit, but I don't want to make him slower if he fixes it.
Yeah, one of his biggest takeaways were he doesn't like to mess with things that got guys to this point.
There's a cost-benefit analysis that goes into it. So we are playing 5-on-5 hockey. We've played about 7.5 minutes of a scoreless first period. We've had long stretches of scoreless during these scrimmages. That's just because the goaltending's been so good. Whistle here offside as the puck was brought in by Nolan Moyle.
That group of goaltenders has also really bonded this week. Multiple of them have talked about how the 4 of them have been hip and hip all week long.
Even in a regular season, Ashley, there's a goaltender instructor. The goaltenders will go out earlier. Yep. It's a different kind of battery than, all the defensemen get along too, I'm sure. But it's a different kind of camaraderie that you get in the goaltending room.
Yeah, when you're getting shots peppered at you, you got to have something in common. I want to do it, Brian.
Long wrist shot. That came from Luke Chris into the midsection of Vickman, and he'll get the whistle. That's something that is also got to be a little bit of a culture shock. You talk about the goaltenders, the volume that they're facing. This is also, this is a collection of players who are either high draft picks or they're ready to turn that corner to pro hockey. you probably see a different quality of shooter in a development camp than you see in Waterloo on a regular basis. Maybe there's a couple of guys out there that can whip it around, but you're going to be able to look at the roster sheet and pick out the guys that can beat you from distance. That's not the case when you get here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that Cameron Whitehead, who I'm sure we'll see between the pipes for Team Red toward the end of this scrimmage, pointed out early on. He was drafted just last week in the 2022 draft and was asked about which players were most dangerous, which skaters were most dangerous, and he said all of them.
All of them.
All of them at this level.
There we see the Team Red bench. Second from the left is assistant coach Jamie Heward with the Henderson Silver Knights. Silver Knights head coach Manny Viveros is to his left, your right. Off the face-off, Jackson Hallam working in the corner, looking for options as he wheels high in the zone. Drops it off for Cholach. Cholach spinning in the corner. You talk about things that stand out, Ashley. Artur Cholach, we heard Will Nickel express that last year, again, no regular development camp, so the first real look we got to see in a setting like this was rookie camp and the rookie tournament. And he struggled, like young players are allowed to struggle when they, the things ratchet up a little bit. And he said that his development in Barrie was so seismic, especially after the war in Ukraine, is when he said he saw him just the maturity ratchet up. But I watched this week, and Artur Cholach, who is a big-bodied guy, a young player still growing into his form, he looks so much more confident with the puck than he did a year ago, making plays, taking the extra stride, picking his head up and trying to create. And that just shows you how much of a jump can happen in a calendar year.
It does, and we were also told that they almost sat him for Game 3 of that rookie tournament because he was struggling. Said thank goodness they didn't, because that is when this development really started to skyrocket, and then he went to Barrie, and like you said, just looked so much more confident. We were told that that's not only a teaching lesson for him, but a teaching lesson for the organization to make sure that you're giving these players the time to get comfortable before you bench them.
Della Durante was stopped by Vickman. 10 minutes left in the scoreless first period, and we'll go into this a little more depth, but you're absolutely right, Ashley. Development isn't just good things happening. Sometimes it's bumps in the road. Sometimes it's having to be flexible and make adjustments on the fly for young kids. It all factors in.
There's going to be rain. That's what they tell these prospects.
Shot that skips wide of Seville. Brisson on the right wing side. Had it, lost it. Chayka bumped off the puck. But Team White scoops it up. Here's Lies. Lies a wrist shot stopped by Vickman, and he'll hang on. You know what? We can jump right into that point because there was one player in particular that they mentioned the learning process of dealing with a mid-season trade. And it was Jackson Hallam, who was the third-round pick in 2020. He got traded from Green Bay to Dubuque in the USHL. And Will Nickel said it was fortunate that it happened, not just for the sake of the rosters or the fit, but it was a really good learning experience for him to be traded and to have to make an adjustment like that midseason.
Yeah, it's something that happens more than frequently once you make it to the NHL level.
Including for well-established NHLers as well across the league. It's been a busy off-season over the last couple of weeks. And
my goodness, has it been.
We'll chat about that throughout the next couple hours. Puck rolls behind the Team White net. Seville out to play it himself. Chayka sent it ahead, and it's Svetlikov over the red line. One thing that's interesting, Ashley, and it's not right or wrong as Vickman gloves this down, because the two goaltender on goaltender, you might look down the other end and be competitive, but it's not like you're. What he's doing down there doesn't impact what you're doing down your end.
Right.
But it has been Seville against Vickman, Whitehead against Lindbaum. There hasn't been any shuffling of the head-to-head.
You're right, there hasn't been. And Vickman's someone that they are very proud of his maturity, his ability to bounce back after losses, especially this last season. They really like his mental game.
And that ability, again, things that those subtle, intangible qualities. The way they've talked about Vickman is, he's the kind of player that can carry a team. He's the kind of goaltender that can win you a game that you're not supposed to win. those are good guys to find.
Everything you want in a starting goalie, he has heart. That's the quote I have from Will Nickel, if that tells you anything about Jesper Vikman. Isaiah Seville, though, also, he's been working hard. He's been here most of the summer. Not only training, he did tell me that he gets some golf in, too. I said, I hope you're teeing off the 5 a.m., and he said, oh, no. We come and we work out.
Because at the very least.
And then we go at about 2 o'clock, right in the heat of the day, that desert heat of the day, he and Connor Ford hitting the links and training. That's not a bad summer. I will say Vegas, quite the place to spend an off season, despite the heat.
And you know that if there's going to be any kind of, charity work, things of that nature in the regular season, it could very well happen on the golf course. You can't embarrass yourself out there. You got to come ready.
That is very true.
Icing called against Team White. No score still. 7:20 left in period 1. As we talk a little bit about Isaiah Seville, again, we talked about how he had a stint in the final month of the regular season and the playoffs for that matter in the AHL with the Silver Knights. As a point shot from Weir deflected behind the net. He has a franchise record, already a franchise record holder. He won 6 consecutive decisions. So that shows you how much he burst onto the scene with the Silver Knights. But before that was putting up just as impressive numbers in Nebraska with the University of Nebraska-Omaha, as he was named the NCHC Conference Goaltender of the Week 5 times last season.
Man.
And he was an honorable mention for the all-conference team.
He was described by a lot of these guys as the funniest and biggest personality in the room, too. Not just big between the pipes.
Not the first time that we've heard that the goaltender is the most interesting person on the roster, right? As Vikman makes the stop and gets another whistle.
Thought it was interesting, too. They also had a mentality class this week where they talked to them about how to bounce back from losses, things of that nature. Very important part of the game.
And it's worth considering, too. I think sometimes it's oversimplified by us on the outside, the young players who were drafted at the age of 18 or whatnot. Like, okay, well, they've probably been the best player on every team that they've ever played for to this point, and how much hardship could there have been? That's not always the case at all. But at the same time, there probably are players in this group that could use a little bit of instruction on how to handle the lows, because there will be lows over the course of what they hope will be a 20-year career.
Yeah, there will be lows, and patience is another thing that they really try to teach these kids this week, that it might not happen tomorrow, right? Scott Jones told us 2%. That's the increments that they want these kids to improve, and that's 2% over an entire season. What they teach them this week, they want to see those improvements by 2% this time next year.
Saved by Isaiah Seville on the point shot. He was looking over his shoulder, but he had it between the pads. And gets the whistle. It's funny, you said, they're looking for 2% improvement, 5% retention.
Yep.
If that was the standard for me in school, I might have gone into a different major.
Yeah.
I could be an engineer if I only have to retain 5%. You just don't want to cross any bridges I designed. Glove saved by Seville. We'll do another face-off from the same spot.
It's a good thing you're not Stephen Holtz. That's all I have to say.
That's good for all of us.
Driving the Tesla.
I wouldn't even get past the design phase. If you saw me draw a stick figure, you'd think it was a tree. I can't hide. Point shot, another save by Seville. And that was a hard, low shot that came from the blue line. Now on the right wing, a toe drag skipped wide of the net. That point shot was from Will Rydell down the other end.
The oldest skater here at camp, and it's his first development camp. Born in '96, stay-at-home defenseman.
Yeah, he's the oldest guy in development camp. You and I feel old. It's really unfair to have a guy at the age of 90, a 96 birth year. He's in a situation where he has to feel old. He shouldn't feel old at all. That's for those of you looking
Hopefully
to do
they're playing some throwbacks in the locker room.
Right. For those of you doing some quick math, he's 25. He'll be 26 in October. But Will Rydell does have AHL experience. He played 2 games this past spring with Lehigh Valley. So that was his introduction to the pro game, and now he's looking for a more permanent stop.
Good for him to have Rick Bennett here watching, as well as Manny Viveros, Tim Speltz.
Hallam with a nice feed, and it was a sliding block by Fleming as he got across on McAllister. And Fleming just got back up. Now the puck might have been underneath him. I wasn't sure. Maybe he was a little bit hobbled, but he appears to be okay. He gets a pat on the pads from Hallam.
And that's one thing. There have been some injuries this week. Some players came in injured. There have been a few injuries during the week. But this organization doing everything they can to keep those players involved in all of the off-ice activities, talking to them, picking their brains about how the scrimmages are going, how the drills are going, keeping them as part of the group as much as they can. It can't be easy when you come out here excited and then you're not able to get in some of these scrimmages.
That was Silver Knights head athletic trainer Todd Richardson making sure that everything was shipshape for Fleming. Appeared to be all right. Joey Fleming, one of the draft-eligible players in camp this week. Shot by Poisson, didn't get through. Brisson sends one wide of the net. It is a power play for Team Red. That was our stoppage, as it might be exactly why Fleming was getting checked out. Maybe something caught him above the shoulder. Cormier at the right point will send it across. Morozov, interesting. And again, the skill levels and the experience of these players is going to dictate some of these power play units and such. As Morozov gives left side, and Seville makes a save on Estapa, who then tried the wraparound that didn't get around the corner. But, you know, for, again, players that might have a future in Henderson this week, you know, this is testing grounds. And, you know, Brisson, Morozov, Cormier, that trio, and they're not alone, but it looks purposeful.
Right. We've seen the Charlottetown guys together as well. Of course, Lucas Cormier, the lone defenseman there on Team White, but also have Patrick Gay and Jacob Rabinitz. So definitely an opportunity to see who already has chemistry going, to get their best looks, and also see who might have chemistry for you down the road.
Little power play time for Matthias Sapovalev as well, the second rounder this past summer. I say this past summer, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, a week ago. I don't know what day it is anymore, Brian.
In the throes of mid-season, off-season hockey are we. A little under 3 minutes. Here's Corcoran, gives out for Joey Larson. Larson on the right wing, he'll rim it around the boards. Left wing half wall is Gay, trying to work out traffic, able to free it up. Corcoran has Larson, wrist shot, and a glove save by Seville. He'll hang on. Something that's so important for young goaltenders, and we've seen it all week. Again, the reason that the score margins have been what they are, they say be there and be square, and that's what you see all the time. Very seldom have we seen goaltenders out of position, as the anticipation's just been pretty darn good.
And those are the mechanics that they want to show the coaching staff. Not stops by chance. No luck here. We might be in Vegas.
Long wrist shot from Rydell. That's gloved by Seville as well. Another thing that's probably worth mentioning, too, though, we've seen the goaltenders plenty of clean lines of sight.
Yep.
This isn't a setting where we're going to see a defenseman driving his stick into the lower back of the guy in front of him.
Right.
Not as many net front battles. Some, but
exactly. Despite the fact that there are some physical, tough guys here in this camp.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get to see them at the rookie tournament and see what they're made of from that perspective when they're going up against prospects of other teams. No one's out here to hurt each other or battle too hard here.
And nobody's looking to take a puck in the teeth in July either.
Right.
Team White on the rush, and a setup intended for Lies. Hopped over his stick. Here comes Callian Kelly the other way. Tried to dish it right side. He was looking for Moyle but couldn't connect. Donovan the other way with a wrist shot that was kicked away by Vickman. Has it again, rims it around the boards. Lies in the near corner, bumped off the puck. Callian Kelly in deep to retrieve for Red. Hard hit on him from Donovan that frees it up. Fleming back on the ice, so that's good news. No worse for wear. And he'll handle it below the goal line. A little over a minute left to go. Sapovaliv into the offensive zone. Gives left side. Dangling to the side of the net was Brisson. The stuff attempt didn't go. Now Fleming, a turnaround wrister through traffic. That was punched away by Seville. And the puck back out to the neutral zone. And nearly Fleming had his pocket picked by McAllister, who's just able to recover. As McAllister forces another turnover, he's been noticeable dogged on the puck through the last couple of days. Ryan McAllister, the college free agent, as we mentioned. As, well, a little fisticuffs after the whistle is Daniel D'Amato and Joe Fleming having some words. That's kind of the first we've seen of that in these last couple of days.
Yeah, Joe Fleming, one of those guys that I was talking about that was described as definitely a tough guy on the ice, but apparently all smiles off the ice, which isn't all that uncommon among some of the tough hockey players. They're still chirping, though. We're seeing that fire, that competitive nature, yeah.
And Fleming, who will be going to Northeastern, if I wrote that down correctly. I believe I'm right. But he's one of those draft-eligible players. Offside here called. But, you know, some of the players here, again, they're still draft-eligible for next year. And some players, a couple players here, I think have 2 years of draft eligibility left. I think Daniil Borash has 2 years left of draft eligibility. But this is an opportunity for them, you know, still showing your stuff, but giving the VGK scouting staff a reason to make sure that you're on their list of guys to visit this year to see.
And on the flip side, it's what was described as a free look to us for the Vegas Golden Knights. Free look, see how they fit in with your other prospects, see how they are both on and off the ice.
And just to confirm, it will be Northeastern for Joe Fleming upcoming, but, you know, free look for the coaches, free look for the fans, and I don't know. If there's a scrap at development camp, I guarantee fans will be saying, hey, whatever happened to him?
Oh, yeah.
As again, we talk about the eyes on these players and the players looking to make that pro turn. We are going to have a chance to talk with Silver Knights general manager Tim Speltz in this upcoming intermission, who I'm sure won't want to discuss too many specifics, but he'll definitely be able to tell us the mindset
right
that management brings into a week like this, as we're in the final seconds of a scoreless first period. One last try for Brabinets that's steered away by Seville, and that'll do it for period one.
It's the goaltenders again, Brian.
Steady and living up to the draft pedigree for certain. But that was another period. Again, the two tight games, the first two of this scrimmage. Team Red won them both. Felt like Team Red carried the majority of the offensive momentum in that first period. Team White had some opportunities, and a couple of good looks in tight for Daniil Borash and for Daniel D'Amato, but I feel like most of the consistent possession time tilted to our right.
Yeah, definitely. And a reminder that these fans who are in attendance are season ticket members, so I should tell you, you can get access to the best prices for Vegas Golden Knights tickets, receive a free VGK jersey, and other perks when you purchase a full season ticket membership. Limited number of full season ticket memberships are on sale now. So for more information on becoming a season ticket member, visit vegasgoldennight's.com/tickets. They've done such a good job all week. First of all of the fans who have come out all week. That has been one of the biggest storylines among the prospects that has really just wowed them.
Yep, and it's to see the buy-in, of course, from the fan community. That in the middle of July, they're so excited for something like this, and also for an event like this where, you know, any fan, no matter how diehard or casual you are, there's going to be players here this week that you've not heard their names before.
For sure.
So for that kind of passion for players that they're excited to get to know, I think that stood out to a lot of the fans. And also, you know, it's funny, we have this on the counter here. This is the rally towel that they've been handing out for this week, these last couple of games. So from a production standpoint, and that's the way that Vegas does things and the way that the VGK do things for sure, but I think it's been a fun fan experience for the fans. This isn't just the hockey rink doors are open, they can come and watch guys skate around. There's been as much as they can try to make this feel like we know what you are missing from the game night experience. We're going to give you a taste of it in the middle of July.
Yep,
so.
No doubt. They've been bumping some tunes out there. Brian's been singing, luckily not on air. You haven't been subject to any of that,
You don't deserve
thankfully.
that. You don't deserve that.
I agree with
Can't
that.
sing, can't dance, can't draw. You're starting to realize that the motor skills of Brian McCormick aren't that good. That's why I sit in a chair more often than not.
Hey, better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. Tim Spelch, general manager of the Henderson Silver Knights. getting set to join us right now. Tim, thanks so much for doing this. How has this week been for you?
Oh, it's been great. I think the whole week and it's development camp in every sense. It's been a while since we've had one. With the COVID interruption, this is the first time in a couple of years, and only 4 players that we have at the whole camp have been at the development camp, so it's new for everybody. Different layers of experience for a lot of these players, but it's fantastic to have them all together. Great, I think, hockey development and great personal development for these young guys.
Tim, I asked Bruce Cassidy this question the other day. I'll ask you the same one. This, to me, I kind of compare it for people who have regular 9-to-5 jobs. This is kind of like orientation for a lot of the players and for the coaching staff as well a little bit. Is that kind of the mentality you want them to enter it with?
Yeah, I think, for the most part, Will Nickel does a fantastic job of preparing the players for what they're going to have and the opportunity they're going to have for development. So I think as long as they come in with open minds, there's some pretty basic stuff at the beginning of the week on ice, which is perfect. I mean, just different skill development, and then all of a sudden you get into a lot more intense practices, and then towards the end of the week we've got the scrimmages. So I think these guys come in with an open mind. They want to get better. They understand the opportunities to get better. It's not as much as evaluation for us, or for me at least, as just getting to know the players. And we'll see different progressions at different times. A lot of these players will come back for rookie camp, some of them VGK camp, some of them HSK camp. So there'll be a lot of different opportunities, and you'll see progression with these guys. And the one thing that is different, some guys have been skating all the time. We've got guys that haven't been on the ice for 2-3 weeks or sometimes months, and that's totally different in that regard. But I think the opportunity is there for everybody, and then again, taking steps at different levels.
You mentioned that it's about more than just what they do on the ice. What is the most important thing this week in terms of what they've done off the ice?
Well, I think a few things. There's been some community involvement, where they had a chance to see and be at the Catholic Charities and their soup kitchen and see what that's all about. I mean, that's a big wake-up call and a dose of reality for them. They've had an opportunity to question and answer with players, and they understand and can learn from other guys' experiences. So there's been a wide array, as well as seeing some Vegas show last night, seeing the Aviator baseball game, seeing what it's all about in our community as well, which is also important. So I think they've had a little bit of everything.
Tim, some of the players here have more professional seasoning than others, and several who actually played significant time with the Silver Knights. Is there a different expectation in a camp like this for guys who have been around the block a time or two when you have some guys who have been NHL property for a couple of weeks only?
Well, maybe a different expectation in some ways. Like a guy like Caden Korzak, for instance, has played a couple of years now. He had the COVID season and then last season in the American League. He's been a great leader off the ice for these players. And I think, he's probably here for a different reason. He's got a different level of comfort, at least for development camp, compared to maybe a new guy coming in and is a little bit nervous and not understanding even where to go. And you walk around the dressing room or the locker room facilities, and it's amazing. They don't even know which way to turn, where you've got the guys that have had the experience, they've been there before. Caden Korzak's a perfect example of a guy who's played NHL games, but still is here to develop, to get better. And so I think the yes, there's a different expectation, but you expect different things from different guys for sure.
You watched a lot of Caden Korzak this year, of course, and Leighton Ahak as well. Kelly McCrimmon said in his media availability the other day, just talking a little bit about this camp, that you walk out into the rink and you see Caden Korzak and you say, that looks like a hockey player. And not to paraphrase for him, but Caden Korzak looks like he's grown up a little bit even in the last few months. What was this year of development like for him?
Well, it was different. I mean, firstly, he had an injury, which was the first time he had to go through that, and it was a tough injury. You got a knee injury and you miss 6 weeks plus, and then you've got to come back from that the first time that happened. And, so those are different experiences for sure. I think the first season that Caden was here, he had a really good time and a really good experience in Henderson, and he was one of the younger guys. Last year he was, expected and forced into a larger role, had call-ups, played, so he had the whole thing. And now you see him, and you just see guys being more comfortable, a little more mature, a little more experienced, and you see that he's probably ready to take the next step and hopefully be a dominant American League hockey player.
For the free agents who are here, they're trying to make an impression, get a chance for a professional look this fall. We've talked a lot about the value of this week for them. How about for yourself, for Rick Bennett, guys who are, how do you view these scrimmages in this week in terms of evaluating those guys who are really trying to make a lasting impression for you guys?
Well, I think both. I think when you look at the opportunity we have in Savannah for some players, it's the ECHL, but it's a great development opportunity for players to start and be able to play a major role there, and that's great for their development and dominate at one level before you get to the next level. It's really tough for American League rookies to come in and be dominant players, and sometimes you have to bide your time, but sometimes there's a better spot for you to get that development opportunity. So now you're trying to look at some of these players with what they have, where are they going back, and are they ready for the next step? And that's the biggest question you have to look at and you have to ask. There's a lot of young guys out here that have got places to go back, whether it's the NCAA program, major junior programs. They're going back to places, but there's some players that have graduated and they're ready for the next step. And what does that look like?
From your time in major junior, from your time as a scout and now general manager of an AHL team, how has the talent in hockey changed over the years?
Well, I think the game is more skilled and more talented, probably faster. I mean, just with everything, I think the players are more prepared to be here. I mean, you've got guys like Will Nickel that are helping prepare these players every step of the way, and even now that they're drafted, he's going to be a big part of their development, a big part of their season this year. And those guys are new. I mean, they weren't here decades ago for sure, and everybody just kind of had to figure it out. Well, now they've got a lot of people helping them, a lot of people holding them their hands, a lot of people pointing them in the right direction. That really helps in every regard.
And on the ice, we talked a lot with Scott Jones yesterday, and of course he's with the Silver Knights throughout the season. He makes his stops with all the prospects. It's interesting that I think fans think a lot of the discussions that hockey men have are more complex of systems and things of that nature, and that's of course part of it. But Scott was talking to us about, from a development perspective, there's a lot of minutia in there too, a lot of smaller elements and even common sense things that when you spell them out for players can make a huge difference.
Well, and I think those reminders, just things that, and maybe they've been taught before, maybe they haven't. But I think, and again, Scott Jones in the development part of the game does a great job coming in with our guys. And he's not a part of our practice. He's a different part of the day where the guys will go out for skill development, skill enhancement. And that's great for, the guys to learn some little tricks and do some things that are going to help them. And whether it's where your hands are, your stick to your body, I mean, just things that, oh boy, that's way easier out here. I've got a chance, and just kind of bang it. It helps them connect the dots, and they've got a chance to learn it and get taught instead of just having to learn on their own.
This past year in Henderson was your first with the Silver Knights as general manager, and one of the important responsibilities of an American Hockey League franchise is to be able to support the NHL franchise, have players ready for call-up. That was asked of the HSK a lot this past season. How did you think the team performed in that function in your first year of producing NHL-ready guys?
Well, I think, we had a lot of that was, it was baptism by fire for some guys. I mean, some guys were called up, and not saying that, hey, they're necessarily ready. It's just that they needed that player. At the same time, we've got the balance where we're trying to develop these young guys and we're trying to be competitive and win hockey games. And that's, a challenge for the coaches, but that's something that we understand what our job is, and it's to produce NHL players. So I think from that standpoint, I think the players that went up did a good job, and the thing that I like the most is they were better players when they came back. So to me, they understood the experience. When they came back, they were ready, I think, to be more dominant and more ready American League hockey players from their experience, and that was a good thing. They didn't come back with the attitude now where I'm too good for this, or I'm an NHL player, I'm a VGK player. They came back understanding they have to get better to be there on a permanent basis.
Tim, it sounds like they're about to hit the ice. We don't want you to miss
anything.
The last two periods of development camp here. So this was Tim Spelch, General Manager of the Henderson Silver Knights. Tim, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
And they are indeed making their way back onto the ice. There is Jesper Vikman, who will return to the crease for Team Red for his second, we would presume his final half period of work for the week. And great of Tim Speltz to sit down and join us, and he's always has time for conversations like that, and it's great when we have the chance to talk to people like we have this week, Ashley. They all have the same end goal. They're all part of the same conversations, but everyone brings just a little different perspective of how they can contribute to the developmental path, and well, that's why there's so many of them here in this capacity, and it's why they make this a week and not a weekend to get these guys in contact with as many hockey minds as they can.
Right, exactly. And it still stands out to me. One of the first things he says is that it's not as much about evaluating for me, it's about getting to know these guys. And I'm sure for these guys, they want to be evaluated. They're going to do their best on the ice, but it's such an important piece of it. So to hear even a general manager with that perspective tells you how important that is to this organization.
And I think, and I know that they do, probably make that clear to these guys at the beginning of the week. That's got to help too, because everyone's going to be nervous to some degree, because whether it's you feel like you're under the microscope or it's more relaxed, you know that you're here for a reason, you're being evaluated in some degree. But you can have a bad practice, you can have a bad shift, you can always be yourself.
Exactly.
So when you know that the focus is getting to know you a little bit, well, that's something that's entirely within your control. As we are in period 2, Korzak carries in, dropped it back, and a shot by McAllister deflected over the top of the net.
He mentioned Will Nichols' name. That's one of the things that stands out about Will Nichol and his staff.
This puck
I didn't want to talk over you there.
No, that's good. No, we have a penalty called, so McAllister looks like he's going to go off. There'll be another red power play. Go ahead, Ash.
No, just the effort they put into getting to know these players, not just here, but throughout a season. Brendan Brisson talked about it when he got back from the Olympics, just how in touch Will Nichol and his staff are in with him every step of the way, and it's not just about hockey, it's about life.
All
That's
players
so important.
Really rave about the impact that Will Nichol has. Again, especially not just when they're here in town, but when they're elsewhere. And, it can be not a lonely feeling for a prospect because they're with their team, they're in their season, that's where their mind is, but it's good to know that you're not out of sight, out of mind. And for those who don't know, he's spoken about this before. Will Nichol used to be a teacher, I believe it was in high school. So it's a unique skill set that really contributes to his job here. Is almost there's a combination of coach and guidance counselor, and he's well equipped for both. As this puck is backhanded all the way down by Ben Hemmerling, the 6th rounder. It is a red power play. And we don't have our updating score sheet like we would in a regular game, Ashley, but this is definitely the 2nd power play, if not the 3rd, for Team Red. Poisson dropped it back, and a shot by Estapa was deflected to the corner. Now it's Morozov, up top Cormier, right side Brisson, one-timer, and that looked like it was blocked on the way in. He'll give out to the blue line, Cormier again.
That Brisson one-timer on the power play, something Vegas Golden Knights fans might be seeing for years to come.
That's the kind of thing that might be immortalized in a bobblehead someday.
His father, Pat, is here as well. He is an NHL agent, has some big names. So Brendan Brisson knows about the NHL culture, what is expected of a pro. He's been around it his entire life, and he carries himself like one. And
it's beneficial, I imagine, too, as you're growing up. Even at a young age, you're surrounded by what it takes to get there. You know what you have to do and how early in your life, how young you need to make a commitment like that. Again, we talked about Daniel Chayka moving to North America when he was 14 years old. As Cormier is pulled down here, no call, the puck is slid out. But you realize there are players who are late bloomers and they catch lightning in a ball when they're 16 years old. But for others, it's making a realization at 14 that they need to start putting themselves in a position.
That's not a common thing to do for a Russian player either, to move over to North America so young with the goal specifically of making it in the National Hockey League.
As we are back to 5-on-5 hockey.
He is quick to help out other Russian players who did come to North America later and are still getting used to English. He was helping Ivan Morozov a couple days ago speak with the media.
We said this in our first scrimmage program of the week, that's very similar to the responsibility that Daniil Miramanov takes upon himself with the HSK. A couple of chances in tight, turned aside by Vikman as he had pressure on him from Borash. But Daniil Miramanov regularly, when there's a media need, Vikman another stop, he'll get the whistle for Pavel Dorofeev, for Maxim Marishev, guys who are still getting acclimated to North American life and comfort with the language. Daniil Miramanov is always eager to help and step in, not just to be helpful, but also because he knows how important it is for these guys to have the opportunity to speak and to have a relationship with media. So Miramanov does that, and he and Chayka have very similar pathways, at least in terms of when they came over.
Right, we underestimate a lot of what some of the foreign players go through, just adjusting to a new country, a new place, a new language, all while trying to get down systems and carve their way into the National Hockey League. Matthias Sapovaliv, the second round pick of this latest draft, first pick of the Vegas Golden Knights. He's only played in North America for 1 year.
There's a save by Seville, and then a follow-up. I believe it was Estapa who put a backhander off the outside of the net. The net had already been knocked off the moorings after Nolan Moyle had gotten the puck into a dangerous spot.
Thought I heard a horn for a second, but it might have just been that bass bumping, Brian.
The subwoofers. It is funny that, we talked about the importance of a scrimmage, of course, is to have these guys show what they can do, and then the officials are going to manage it the same way. You could almost hear a groan from the crowd. Lucas Cormier was pulled down on a power play for Team Red, but are you going to learn that much about the players on Team White down 5-on-3? Maybe not as much, so maybe you let that one go. Jace Weir sent it down to Estapa on the right wing half wall. Now Moyle. Back up top. Weir gives it across. There's a long wrist shot by Rydell that was deflected. It goes up over the glass and out of play. Our conversation actually with Tim Speltz, again, development isn't just a summer thing, it's a year-round thing. And I thought it was interesting. He said, some of the players on the HSK who had to go up to Vegas, I say had to, they were happy to go, were called upon. It was he used the term baptism by fire. Mm-hmm. But he said what was important was that they came back better. They did what they had to do with the Golden Knights, but they didn't come back shell-shocked because of it. They came back with a better grip on their AHL responsibilities. And, when you go to the NHL, development's not done. You're still getting better if you're doing it right.
You have to wonder, too, how much that plays into not only their motivation, but the motivation of their teammates.
Well, there's our first goal of the day as a long wrist shot from Abram Wiebe finds its way through. Looks like it might have been deflected in front by Nick Poisson, and Team Red dominance continues. They have a 1-0 lead.
All I have to do is talk, then we get a goal, Brian.
Nick Poisson, who is stationed in front. And again, when we talk about these free agents who are making an impression, Poisson, perhaps one of the more in-demand players among the free agents after he had 35 points in 37 games for Providence in Hockey East this past year. Ashley, his phone rang a lot. 27
camp invites I wrote down. Is
That's
that what you wrote down? Okay, I was like, did I miswrite that?
I'd like to find out who didn't call
it's
him.
All but 5 teams? Yeah. I think if you're one of the 5 teams that didn't call him, maybe you're the one in the wrong, huh?
That or you had a really, really crowded phone book that weekend. But Nick Poisson's put on a pretty good show these last couple of days.
And great that Vegas is where he ended up because many teams having their development camp this week, if not all.
And fun to see. We talk about what a great turnout we've seen here at City National Arena these last few days where it's been standing room only throughout. And, you catch some of the videos of other NHL teams around the league. There's development camp's pretty popular. It's a good time for hockey. Fleming goes back on the puck in his own zone. Trying to get away from Borash. D'Amato in there as well.
Fans do enjoy development camp, and with good reason. And the fact that it hasn't been in person for 3 years, I'm sure plays a factor as well.
And as we mentioned, too, fun for the players, too. After every game that after the scrimmage, we've walked downstairs, Ashley, and there's been 3, 4, 5 players standing in the hallway making sure they can sign autographs for the kids. That's, it's something simple, and it's nice for the kids, but we forget that's something that there hasn't been a whole lot of the last few years. As Hallam was pulled down by Fleming, we're going to have by my count, the first power play for Team White this morning.
That's what happens when you're that fast. Draw the penalty.
A little inside, outside.
Talked to Jackson Hallam a bit yesterday. I said, everyone knows about your speed. It's the first thing everyone talks about, but what do you want to show in this final scrimmage? And he said that I can score and that I can defend. Hopefully not too much defending going on a power play, but keep an eye on him.
Sometimes when people bring up one thing you do really, really well, your first thought is like, I do other things well too, Caden Korzak manning the blue line. Give and go with McAllister. Go ahead.
That's what Scott Jones told us yesterday. It's if you can't get any faster, it's about playing faster.
Right. The decision making is probably the hardest thing to teach, you'd imagine. You can't do it for them. Connor Ford unable to finish on a rebound, and Team Red can clear. Just under 7 minutes gone in the second period of our final scrimmage of development camp. Nick Poisson, the only goal of the game thus far for Team Red. Korzak will walk the line. Is top of the left circle. McAllister's pass across was blocked down, and Red will clear again. As we mentioned, we've got about 12 and a half minutes left in this second period, which means that we presume Jesper Vikman and Isaiah Seville's work is about to come to an end over the next couple of minutes, after which Carl Lindbaum and Cameron Whitehead will pop in. Right now, Team White not getting much going on this power play as Patrick Gay tries to work it up the wall. Knocked down, held in by Hemmerling, but only for a moment as it pops back out between the blue lines, and Chayka will backtrack with it. Now wheeling up through center is Daniel D'Amato. Rims it around the boards near side. Hemmerling will take over. Downside of the net, trying to go between his legs was... All right, the side of the net, that was in tie. I believe it was Daniil Borash. That's the second time we've seen him do that side of the net between the legs maneuver, and that one nearly crept through. Hemmerling and D'Amato were in the area as well.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
I think after Marcus Stoppa got style points yesterday, everybody else wants in on that too. Still a power play for Team White in the latter stages. Face-off won by Red. Corcoran will clear. And going back after it is Jacob Guavin, who had a goal in the first game this week, back on Thursday. His lead pass here is off the mark. It's all the way down for an icing against Team White. There we get a look at Cooper Wiley, one of the college free agents. Waterloo of the USHL, headed to St. Cloud State. He gets the puck off the face-off win. Gave right point Corcoran. His shot was blocked, skips wide of the net. Now Wiley holds in again, left point. We are back to 5-on-5. Turnover at the side of the net. A backdoor feed was broken up. That was Sapovalev trying to find a stop on the back door, and it looked like Seville might have partially poked that away. And now here's an intercept and a 3-on-1 for Team White. Pass in front for Lies, and it bounced off his stick. Justin Lies driving the net, just wouldn't settle down for him. After he took that pass off the stick of Nolan Ritchie. Centering feed from Sapovalev didn't make it to its intended target.
We're talking about style points. It's unfortunate that Wilmer Skoog hasn't been able to play today or yesterday, because he did impress the first couple days of camp, and he pulled off 2 Michigan goals this past season. Brian, would have been fun to see that for some style points, huh?
Hands for days. He is described to us two-way center at Boston University, and he has an appreciation for the details. And again, that's where you learn some players are physical specimens. Some have a greater appreciation for the X's, O's, and the Y's and why nots.
A lot of those players with the attention to detail were compared to Jonas Rombjerg of the Henderson Silver Knights. Perfect example of what happens when you're just dependable and detail-oriented. You might get a handful of games in the National Hockey League when things get depleted, more than a handful.
So Skoog, who we will not see again this week, but yeah, he's got attention for the details and the smarts, but he can also do the Michigan more than once. It's pretty darn good. As you see, Isaiah Seville was making his way to the bench. This is our official goaltender change with 10.5 left in the second period. There is Carl Lindbaum coming in the crease for Team White, and Cameron Whitehead, the 4th rounder in 2022, across the way. They'll give them a few moments to limber up.
Lindbaum was one yesterday who said that He really benefited from that mentality class. As a goaltender, mental game is one of the most important things. And I have to wonder if Cameron Whitehead is nervous. He said that he wasn't nervous at the start of camp because he knew he wasn't going to make the team next year anyways. It's slow development for goaltenders. He has another year still in the USHL before heading to Northeastern. But I don't know, your last period and a half to show what you have, I bet there's a little bit of anxiousness and nerves here.
Again, he was just drafted a couple of weeks ago. Carl Lindbaum was drafted last summer, and he probably already feels older for it. But Carl Lindbaum, we'll talk about that in a moment. Here comes Hallam on the rush. His shot kicked away by Whitehead, who steers away his first action. The other way goes Team Red. Right wing shot. That was Poisson trying to go over the shoulder of Lindbaum, and Lindbaum shrugged it away. Carl Lindbaum, if you look at his setup, his gear, you can see the Sweden color scheme. And he's a player that going into this year, goals that he has a good chance, a very good chance at being the starting goaltender for Team Sweden when they head off to the World Juniors after Christmas.
What a fun tournament that is to watch, and even more fun when you have Vegas Golden Knights prospects to keep up with.
And they tried to have it this past year. It didn't quite work as expected, but that is a week you circle on the calendar every year, from Christmas to New Year's. And I remember when I was growing up, I was not very productive the week off from school between those two dates. Cholach back in his own zone will reverse behind the net. Puck that gave Korzak some trouble. Gay held in, but only for a moment as Ford gives out to center. Here comes Hemmerling. Hemmerling got some help from D'Amato. His centering pass went all the way across. Brabinets with a takeaway. He'll work the other direction. Brabinets. Drop pass. Nice little toe drag by Larson. He had nowhere to go with it. He just sends it back behind the net. .8:20 to go in period 2. Brabinets unable to hold in. Hemmerling will work ahead. Ben Hemmerling, who is described to us, Ashley, potentially be a really good value pick, where he was taken in the 6th round, 177th overall.
Yeah, our own Gary Lawless caught up with TSN's Craig Button, who's in charge of scouting for TSN and is a former executive, and he said Hemmerling would have gone earlier if the Everett Silvertips would have made it further, but Vancouver beat them. Want to know why? None other than Jesper Wickman was between the pipes for Vancouver, but yes, certainly a high-value pick who was expected to go earlier if his season would have gone further.
There's a glove save by Lindbaum on the long shot from the blue line. I believe it was Wiley who sent it through. Tell you what, it's that's why you have to take development lessons from winning and losing, because sometimes you've got a guy on each side. But I'll tell you, we've had a lot of discussion, Ashley, about, again, the newer faces and some of the players who have, even if they haven't been through a development camp because of the strange couple of years, have at least, played pro hockey or had access to the development staff. The AHL guys, your Korzaks, your Corcorans, your Connor Fords, even, we've heard maturity thrown around a lot.
Yes. Another
player that really shows that and does not fit into that category is Jacob Brabinets, who has a real steadiness. And when you talk about players that really get high marks from the development staff, Brabinets was taken in the 4th round in 2021, and he's a guy that a lot of people now in retrospect say, well, he could have gone the 1st round.
It's more than just about what he does on the ice. They love his personality off the ice. He's bubbly, they call it.
Bubbly, that's right. And he had a goal in yesterday's scrimmage, if I remember correctly. They all happen so fast. Cooper Wiley will put up the boards and over the boards into the bench, and that will stop play. And of course, there's other prospects. Not everyone's able to come to development camp or makes it over here, but Brabinets was in the rookie tournament last year, had a great season with Charlottetown. Jacob Demick, another draft pick from last year, who had a really strong season with the Edmonton Oil Kings. Della Durante at the blue line. Steps around it, checks, and a wrist shot, he scores. Well, we said we haven't seen a lot of net front traffic. There was a screen that time, and Della Durante with a seeing eye wrister that gets past Whitehead and ties the game at 1.
This is where it gets interesting, Brian. More and more to play for as this goes on.
And another college free agent finding the score sheet. Della Durante, the defenseman out of Princeton. Had 3 goals in 28 games last season in the ECAC. Finds the back of the net here. Team Red looking for a quick response. Right wing shot by Corcoran. Goes off Lindbaum, over the glass and out of play. Face-off coming in the white end.
And Della Durante, who just scored that goal for Team White, one of those guys who played on a team that struggled, so they felt like he deserved an extra look. Sometimes it's hard to get the looks that you maybe deserve when you aren't playing on a team. It's clearing the pucks and doing those things that they need to be doing.
Face-off will be to Lindbaum's left. Brabinet's on the face-off, wins it back with help from Larson, who will spin it behind the net. Puck in the near corner, Cholach and Larson collide. Larson, good job on the pucks, keeps it alive, got out to the blue line. Corcoran right point will dump it down to the far corner, and Patrick Gay is on it there. Patrick Gay, who has a goal during these scrimmages this week, or pardon me, not a goal, an assist. He was the one who set up Jacob Brabinets.
Coming off a 55-goal season, Patrick Gay is.
That's hard to do anywhere. Wrist shot from the left side, missed the net from Rydell up on the rush, and that ricochets out of play. And that's Patrick Gay, that pure goal-scoring ability. 55 goals in 68 games.
I was going to say, you got to point out the number of games. That makes it even more impressive.
And on top of that, 104 points in 68 games. He wasn't just the trigger man. And to pick him up for the VGK in the 5th round, that's good value there.
A guy that when Gary Lawless caught up with Craig Button said he should have been drafted last year. So maybe that's what fueled his fire to have that 55-goal season.
And that's where you find value too, Ashley. When someone goes through the draft a second time, they're going to drop a little bit lower than they did before just because there's a new crop of kids to consider. And you can find guys, mistakes that were made the year before, you can pick them up at really good value.
Looks like someone might be down on the ice, hopefully getting up.
I believe so. As I peer out the window really quickly, looks like everyone's up and moving.
Patrick Gay was also compared to Jonathan Marchessault. If that'll get Vegas Golden Knights fans excited. They love their Marchie, his feistiness, his presence in front of the net.
Team Red's going to slow things down here with about 4:40 left in this second period. If you're just joining us, we are tied at 1. Goals from Nick Poisson and from Noah Della Durante both scored in this period. And we are playing standard 5-on-5 regular rules. We had a little bit of fun yesterday with 4-on-4 and 3-on-3, but this is
all business today, Brian.
That's right.
It might be Saturday, but we're not messing around.
Well, you and I are, but they're not. They're serious. In the neutral zone and working his way backwards is Luke Chris out of Brown University. In on the right side, Chris trying to dangle his way to the front. He was stood up nicely. Good defensive work by Cooper Wiley. And Fleming will dangle his way ahead. Fleming, one of the draft-eligible players that we mentioned. He's not the only one. There were a couple of them this week. Jace Weir is also draft eligible still, as well as Daniil Borash. Again, I think he has 2 years of draft eligibility left. As a save is made by Whitehead, he'll hang on. Justin Lies out of the Vancouver Giant program, he is draft eligible still. And Jacob Guavin on Team White out of Muskegon and headed to the University of Nebraska Omaha, draft eligible. So a lot of guys giving sneak peeks to the VGK scouting staff. Puck rolls behind Whitehead and it's poked in.
For the first time this week, Brian, Team White
That was a
with the lead.
sharp angle wrister, and I think Whitehead thought he had it trickle behind him, and jumping on it was Ben Hemmerling. So Team White has a 2-1 lead there first, and off of a greasy one.
Ben Hemmerling again. Someone Craig Button said would have gone earlier. The Everett Silvertips would not have lost out to Vancouver.
47 points in 57 games for Hemmerling with the Silvertips this past season.
His name also came up yesterday when asking staff who has stood out. His name came up. Also among talking to players, Jackson Hallam pointed him out specifically. He said, Ben Hemmerling standing out to me.
And here he comes again looking for more on the right wing side. Trying to drive wide on Rydell. Rydell wouldn't let him through. Loose puck sent ahead by Gay. On the right wing, Cormier up on the rush trying to force in the middle. His shot was blocked. A save made on the follow-up by Lindbaum. Now Cormier again has it top of the left circle. That was a good stop in tight on the follow try from Joey Larson. Transition for the White team. Hallam through on the brakes. Good recovery by Cormier to get back. Shot from the left wing, missed the net. And Karam's all the way around back into the White zone with just over 2 minutes left in period 2. And Team White a 2-1 lead courtesy of Hemmerling.
You want to see everyone perform well. You want to see everyone score, but exciting to see two of the prospects from this most recent draft. Matthias Sapovaliv with a goal yesterday and a shootout goal. And then you have Ben Hemmerling today as well.
Sapovaliv sets up Corcoran and a shot stopped with the left pad by Lindbaum. A little more offensive confidence this last little bit. Sapovaliv tries to go up over the shoulder. He went up over the crossbar instead as it stays in play, but Sapovaliv couldn't convert from in tight. Matthias Sapovaliv, who was drafted a couple weeks back in the second round, 6'3", 183. He looks bigger than 6'3", but that's a frame he's going to grow into, Ashley, as he gets older.
Without question.
And we hear from so many of these development coaches for all these players, well, what do you want from them? Well, some guys have specific things, from a skill perspective. And for some of these players, like, he just needs to get stronger. You hear that a lot when you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids. Everybody needs to get stronger. You're going to expect to hear that pretty much across the board. Poisson is in, dropped it back. Brisson. Shot was blocked by Ellis in the final minute of period 2. D'Amato over the line with a wrist shot that was gloved and held by Whitehead. He'll get the whistle. Face-off will be to Whitehead's right. And again, when we talk about how against Sapovaliv is going to grow into that frame, Ashley, that's one of the things, he was one of the ones specifically. He needs to get stronger, but you're going to hear that for most of the 18 and 19-year-olds at the weight room. That's part of the plan for the next couple of years. Shot by Wiley was blocked. It came right to Gay, but bounced over his stick. He couldn't do anything with it, and I'm not sure, do we have a penalty called on that sequence? Oh, the net knocked off the moorings, pardon me. So going post to post, Carl Lindbaum took the post with him. And it'll be a face-off for Brabenitz and Svetlikov draws it back. Chris played it off the boards all the way down. Icing is called as Fleming gets back to it. 16 seconds left in period 2.
You mentioned getting bigger. That's one of the things you mentioned to Tim Speltz during that interview as well. Caden Korzak, a guy who has put on about 10 pounds already since the end of last Henderson Silver Knight season. It's impressive.
And again, not
the good kind.
Not that long of a time window that we're talking about.
Sorry, not the bad kind.
Not the bad kind,
the good kind. It is the good kind. It's all muscle.
That's from basically the start of May until now. That's a lifting program I need to find. 2 seconds in one. Period is over. And we head to the second intermission with Team White holding their first lead of the week.
I like it, Brian. First lead of the week. Last scrimmage. I don't know. I think I might be rooting for a shootout. What about you?
You know what?
Team
we were spoiled
Redcom, tie it up.
the last couple of days. We knew we were getting them, so we just took them for granted.
Exactly.
So now we need one with merit. But I think we talked about this, and we're going to talk a little bit during this intermission, I think, about the goaltending and what's expected from the goaltenders and how they've pushed each other this week. But that was the conversation much of the last 2 days. Today, some of the skill guys starting to open her up a little bit.
Yeah, Brian, and we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to catch up with a season ticket member, I think. That'll be fun.
We're going to go for a walk?
We're going to head out in the bowl.
We're going to go for a walk.
Get
I like
ready.
it.
Get ready. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the final day of VGK Development Camp presented by Martin Harris Construction. Today's event is a season ticket member exclusive, and I'm joined by some here. Allison, Justin, Hunter, and Logan. What's it been like being out here this morning?
It's been so much fun seeing all the new guys. I've had a blast. I've loved it. Do you have a good time? Yeah? This is the first time that our kids have gone and seen any of these. They used to come to the kids zone all the time before everything shut down, and they've had a great time seeing all the players.
What's been your favorite part?
When I don't know.
You don't know?
You don't know?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite part?
My favorite part is when one of the hockey players, when I was over there, he hit on the door. He hit at me like.
He hit on the door. That's the best part of the development camp. It's up close and personal. There's autographs. The kids are getting involved in it. Don't you think, Brian?
Yeah, and I bet, Justin, I bet for everybody, we're halfway through summer. I know I was getting a little bit stir crazy. It's great to have some meaningful hockey at this time of year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the new coach. Wait to see how the team does this year. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting this year.
How about for, the draft was only a couple of weeks ago. For the draft picks, it's a whirlwind for them to get them in, but it's got to be fun to see the new guys up close and in person.
Oh yeah, I mean, being able to see the players play for the first time, it's amazing. And then, when they transition to the team or however that goes, it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited.
Was there anyone that you guys were particularly excited to see? I mean, we got a couple of guys who have been in the system for a couple of years. Who's really stood out?
I'm really interested to see any of the new goalies. Like, I really liked Whitehead. I thought he's really good. Swalvell's really good. I know I'm pretty excited to see how all of it turns out. We need some really good forwards, so I'm excited.
Well, you said for the two young guys that it's their first real game action experience. Are they on the ice? Do they play yet?
No, not yet. They have our own hockey nets at home, so they take it out front and they play in the cul-de-sac. And they're both goalies, so I don't really know how that works, but I give them an A for effort.
Ashley, we'll have to send one of the skills development coaches over to their neighborhood then.
Exactly. No kidding. Got to get him out there now. White team leads it 2-1. I just want final predictions on everyone. Who's winning this game, red or white?
We're hoping for the white team. That's who we're rooting for. But who do you think is going to be red or white?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both are going to win? I've heard white in both.
White.
You want to break the tie, or you're going to go along with the family?
I'm going with White. I mean, we chose White at the beginning when we sat down, so I'm going to stick with the team. I stick with the one I go with.
He
Smart
says
man,
both.
consistency. Right.
He says both. So if we end in a tie, we will be going to a shootout.
A man in Vegas knows how to hedge his bets. He's a smart guy.
Exactly. He is a smart guy. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. And
Thank
these
you.
two are goaltenders, and our amazing video team did a cool little piece on our goaltenders at development camp. Let's check it out.
Now, something special this year. Archers Kolash was drafted by the team last year.
Correct.
Obviously wasn't in the building because it was remote.
Yeah.
He's here this year. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Archer is a wonderful young man, but as many of you know, he's from the Ukraine, and he's not able to get back this off season because of what's going on over there. He's in Barrie, Ontario, where he plays, close to your home there in Peterborough, and we wanted to make sure that he was able to experience a packed house. He'll meet Coach Cassidy tonight. He'll go around the table, I believe, and meet Kelly and George, just like he would if he were drafted.
Hey, Archer, glad you get to experience that. Congratulations.
Thank you for the weekend.
You bet.
And then our media people will take him through the media.
It's actually weird because my draft was 1 year ago, but it's a special moment. Every kid dreams about it the whole life, so it's a special moment, and I just want to thank Vegas Golden Eyes organization to make my dream true, and I really appreciate it.
What's this week been like for you? Getting
It's been a terrific experience. It's a first-class, organization, and this is it's kind of nice for us to see down in Savannah, to be here to model this, this pattern that they have here, because it's really, it's really impressive.
We talked to Manny a lot about how they match the systems. Are you going to be matching the systems very similarly to down in ECHL?
Yeah, somewhat. We got to see what we have. It's a little bit different because, we're just trying to put together a team this summer, so we really don't know too much of what you have. And then just talking to, Tim Speltz and Henderson, what's going to be, coming down and so on and so forth. So we'd like to try to keep that continuity. And, we just, again, we just have to see it play out.
What's the excitement about starting this?
Well, I was down there for about a day and a half, and I could see the excitement, for the announcement. They were extremely excited to find out it was Vegas and Henderson, and it was really appreciative, for even a coach announcement. So those, I think, that people want to see, the players, quite honestly, and that's, I think, exciting. Just judged by season ticket sales is a real positive. I think it's one of the best in the league right now. So I think there are, tremendous amount of positives down there currently.
I have to ask your thoughts on the name Ghost Pirates.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like it a lot. I think it's definitely unique. Playing in Jacksonville and being a Lizard King. So you know what? If you can be a Lizard King, you'd definitely be a Ghost Pirate, right? So, it was fun there. So I thought it's catchy.
And your first name is Swamp Rabbits.
Swamp Rabbits, right?
The names in ECHL.
Well, you got to sell tickets, right? So it's I think it's it's kind of ironic, those names.
What stood out to you this week? Is there any player that's maybe caught your eye?
Yeah, you start singling out guys, and someone else you kind of leave someone else off. So I think in general, everyone has been great. Great attitudes. I think first and foremost, everyone's been really positive out there in the ice, just trying to get to know them. Because I'm a rookie too, first development camp, and they're very welcoming too. And I mean that from the players too. And they've been phenomenal as far as their work ethic and coachable. So and I think that's what everyone's kind of looking for.
Impressive goalies.
Yeah, I would say so. I get when you go 5 for 5 in the shootout, you're doing something, and all those goalies too. And they're, again, just to see their attitudes, smile on their faces, and even get trying to give up a goal when they did, just they rebounded quickly, and that was good to see.
Coach, without singling anybody out, there are college free agents who are here at camp hoping to get a pro opportunity this fall. Does that allow yourself, Henderson's staff, maybe to view a camp like this differently than maybe Bruce and his staff?
Yeah, it's a good look, and that's why they're here. They're here for a reason. From what they did, their body of work, from what they did the previous year, and I think you're seeing that today because there are a lot of good ones out here. And again, I don't want to start singling out players because I'll miss one. Because there are a lot. So, but from what I've seen, coming from that college game, there's some impressive college guys here.
As the head coach in ECHL, how much say do you have over personnel?
I'm gonna probably pass that on to management from Henderson down, and we'll discuss. We'll be on the same page, and what's coming up, what's coming down. I'll give my honest feedback. And I think that's the best possible way,
What was fun today for the takeaway weaknesses is seeing what these guys have in a raw skill set that we saw 5-on-5, we saw 4-on-4, and there's some room for them to do. Was that useful for you guys?
It was. It kind of gave us a glimpse of 5-on-5 play, who the 4-on-4 guys that are really good, and then 3-on-3. And all of them stood out pretty much on the 3-on-3, 4-on-4. I thought more 5-on-5. There's a couple areas that we can shore up as you're going into your season, each team, as far as coaching, and that's exciting. We all have our hiccups, and so it was kind of fun to see the 5-5, 4-4, 3-3, format. All right, thanks everybody.
Savannah Ghost Pirates, the new ECHL affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights. He called it their rookie camp for himself as well. Bruce Cassidy and the newest assistant coaches, Sean Burke and John Stevens, have also been here as well. I guess I should say assistant coach John Stevens and director of goaltending Sean Burke have also been here. They're Of course, new to the Vegas Golden Knights organization as well. Of course, many new prospects as well. So everyone getting to know everyone here, Brian, as we get underway for the third period.
We are underway for the third, and Ashley, we talked about this being a traditional format, and it still is. I think it was just a matter of time on the literal clock. They're going to play 15 minutes in this third period. So regular 5-on-5, but it'll be a 15-minute period rather than a 20 to wrap things up for development camp this week.
And if it ends in a tie, we go to a shootout.
Maybe that might be the reason they also made it 5 minutes less this period. They're hoping for a shootout as much as you and I are. As it's 2-1, at least for the moment, as dangling his way in was Jace Weir, but he couldn't find the back of the net. It is 2-1 White. And Ben Hemmerling with the go-ahead goal late in the second period for the White team. Estapa got the puck in front, came back to the blue line. Weir's shot deflected to the corner. Now Poisson sends one towards the front. Poisson to Brisson. Brisson's pass blocked. Poisson again to Brisson to Cormier. Poke past his feet. And Hallam was able to clear, and now McAllister there in support.
I like the inflection there when Poisson and Brisson are playing together, Brian.
That could be fun for a long time.
That could be fun.
How things work out again. Poisson, a very highly thought of free agent in this camp. And he of Providence. Lots of Michigan guys here, but Poisson not one of them. He was with the Friars in Providence.
Center of that line, Ivan Morozov as well. Guy who they said they have tried very hard to get over here. This organization really likes Ivan Morozov.
And finally did get him over last spring for a short stint, the last couple of games of the season, and playoffs with the Silver Knights. As we get a whistle here, Cameron Whitehead covering things up.
Cameron Whitehead, popular among the fans already, it sounds like, based on our intermission interview with season ticket members.
It was fun to meet Allison and Justin, and then Logan and Hunter were the two sons.
Yes.
And you don't, well, maybe you do think of it, but it stood out to me that for those two kids, this is their first game actually. They've not been to T-Mobile Arena. This is their first opportunity, and the first opportunity is always special, but to be able to see it in a setting like this where they're 10 feet from the glass, that's another thing that weeks like this, opportunities that they present. Fans of all ages get a chance to see these players up close, but it's literally fans of all ages, and Hunter and Logan are getting a really good up close and in-person experience with VGK hockey this week.
Both goaltenders as well. I wonder who Logan's favorite goaltender is, Brian. I have a feeling might be Logan Thompson, another Logan. I don't know.
If not, I think we could talk him into it.
Was it Logan or Hunter that wants both teams to win?
I think it was Hunter who said that. He's a smart man.
I don't think it's possible, but they have changed the format on us before, so we'll find out.
That shot by Nolan Ritchie was turned aside. Here's Della Durante, who has a goal this morning. His centering pass was blocked. I just love how Allison, the mother of the boys, said they play in the driveway together, but they're both goalies. I don't know how that works. That's sometimes when you're a mom, you don't ask questions. Just They're outside, they're having fun, just let them do it. But both of them have save percentages of 1,000.
Hey, it's impressive.
Builds confidence. Sharp angled shot steered away by Lindbaum as Cormier is in deep. Tried to feed it back, but Della Durante intercepted. Puts it off the glass to the line, and Lies brought it out, then in, then out, then in again. Whistle for an offside. And we see Rick Bennett is on the bench for Team White, running that bench with Joel Ward, assistant coach for the Silver Knights. Interesting to hear how Bennett described this. You brought up already it's a rookie experience for him.
Yep.
And Bennett, who's a very, very accomplished coach in the NCAA with Union prior to moving to ECHL Savannah. He's a guy who knows how to coach, no question. But to see how things are done at this level, there are things done differently at the pro level than college. Has a chance in tight, and the red team has tied it up. It was a rebound at the side of the net. Joey Larson was there jamming away at it. Not sure if it looked like it was Brabanitz who got the last touch. Or Brabinetz, excuse me. And Brabinetz does lead the handshake line as we are tied at 2.
His second goal of the week.
As Lindbaum was down, made the first stop and the second stop, and then after a little bit of pinball, it looked like it was Brabinetz who had the final poke through. And again, that's what we talked about with Jacob Brabinetz. He's capable of flash, but it's not flashy. It's positionally sound, and it's a dedication to details. He's one of those guys that looks mature out here. D'Amato will give out to the neutral zone. Korzak carries over, dropped it off, and a long shot by Donovan went wide of the net. Whitehead might have gotten a piece as it caroms all the way back into the white zone. Delayed call-up coming against Team Red. And Poisson forces the puck free. Estapa didn't make enough of a touch, so Cholach will go back for the puck as the clock continues to wind. It is a 2-2 hockey game with Jacob Brabinetz knotting things up for Team Red. D'Amato backhands in. We'll probably get our touch here, and we do. And the only feistiness we've seen in these scrimmages has been between Fleming and D'Amato, and you can see Fleming a little extra jolt there as well.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to them after. You know, is
Together?
this fun? Is this fun? Is it real? What are we seeing here?
Exchange phone numbers on the way out the door?
Right. D'Amato, I did learn, is the locker room DJ for Team White. That's important information to know.
Did you get a copy of the playlist?
I didn't. I was told it was rap and rock.
Rap and rock.
Very different, but
intermittent bouncing between the two,
I didn't
or
go that far. Oh,
some sort
we
of
have
a
another
fusion?
penalty shot.
And Artur Cholach is taking it. And a save made with the right pad by Whitehead as he turns away the defenseman. That probably, I would imagine, with only 15 minutes on the clock. And they are stopping the clock. There's 8:10 left. But now that we're in a bit of a time crunch, again, do you want a kid to spend the last 15 minutes of his development weekend sitting, or do you want to just get him back out there and roll? So just a guess, context clue. I didn't see anything in real time that would have warranted a penalty shot. My guess is that penalties from here on out, that's how they're going to handle
Got
them.
it. Penalty shot is every penalty. Every penalty gets penalty shot.
That's my guess.
If
Context
I'm being
clues.
honest, I was looking at you excited about the locker room DJ talk.
Right. We were interrupted.
Next thing I know, I looked up.
Interrupted rudely by the Artur Cholach penalty shot attempt.
We did see penalty shot yesterday, though. Mattias Sapovaliv did not get it off, but made up for it in the shootout.
With the same move, or at least very similar. Callie and Kelly tried to center one for Sapovaliv. That was intercepted. I'll remind everyone, we talk about the up-close and in-person nature of the scrimmages this week and how much fun that is. Maybe you've gotten a taste for it. Maybe you want more up-close, in-person style athletic entertainment this weekend. We can help you there. If you haven't been to the Dollar Loan Center yet, this is your chance. Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady brought his Ones Basketball League to the DLC, and the $250,000 championship is set for tonight at 8 p.m. Tickets are free. Visit thedollarloancenter.com, thedollarloancenter.com, and see Ones Basketball League action tonight in Henderson.
That was another thing, Brian, that you had the opportunity to do, is give these prospects a tour of the Dollar Loan Center, where many of them will be playing, if not next season, at some point in their career with the Henderson Silver Knights.
Oh, there's a great stop. Cameron Whitehead point blank on Carter Such to keep this a 2-2 game. I absolutely did, Ashley. They enjoyed the locker room. That was, and you expect that's going to be probably the favorite spot. A little bit of glam to it, and also, you know, it's like if you're moving into a new house and you get to see your bedroom ahead of time. You want to get a look at that. I was hoping that when I showed them my broadcast spot that they would think that was cool. I don't think it had the effect intended.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, it's cool, but I think they said that,
it's a heck of a view.
Brian, you're so close. How do you make so many mistakes when you're this close? That's a fair question. Face-off is to Whitehead's right. White wins the draw. Chris for Della Durante. Now behind the net. Chris stayed in deep, left it off in the corner. Sharp angled shot by D'Amato was stopped by Whitehead. Now D'Amato wheeling high in the zone, risks one that goes wide of the net. Good pressure here from White, but now a turnover as it was forced out to the neutral zone by Gay. Good recovery by D'Amato to stop the transition rush, but now there's room for Jace Weir to flick one forward. Hallam will work back in his own end. Now it's Della Durante going left side, room to roam. For Ford into the offensive end, he'll chip and chase behind the net. Ford and Hallam both digging forward. Wiley playing keep away and now getting support from Poisson. Puck turned over at center and sent back into the red zone, and back for it there again is Cooper Wiley. Wiley stretched pass onto the stick of Poisson, and his shot blocked away by Lindbaum. A pretty decent home run pass. Back pass for Fleming came out of the zone. Red will regroup. Here's a good centering pass and a better save by Lindbaum. He got the paddle of the stick down as cutting across his front was Poisson looking for his second of the day.
Lindbaum scrambling.
Another intercept that time by Corcoran, who's playing a little bit of forward in this third period. Callian Kelly battling on the half wall. I'll tell you what, Ashley, maybe you feel this way too. I detect just a little bit, I won't call it reckless. These guys are emptying the tank. They know there's about 7 minutes left of show and tell.
You can't blame them. That's only good for us. Good for us and the fans at home, so we can't complain about that.
And pardon me, I hadn't looked out the window in a little bit. 4 minutes of show and tell, so even more urgency. As Korzak was trying to find Such on the back post, but that pass didn't get through. And here comes Larson over the line, gives right side. Callian Kelly, nice feed, back post, but skips over the stick of Will Rydell, who is diving in deep. Now Sapovaliv back in his own zone. Has Such all over him. Such forced the turnover. This is McAllister working the outside. Lies, excuse me. It rolled off his stick, but he recovered and found D'Amato just off the bench. Now McAllister behind the net. Pass in front. Looking for Chayka. Bounced off a skate. Lies at the blue line. Stepped on the puck, but kept it in the zone. McAllister had poked off his stick. And it's out to neutral ice. 3 minutes left in regulation time for development camp scrimmage week. Puck will roll all the way back to Lindbaum. He'll stop it behind the cage. Gotta wonder, Ashley, after a week like this, a very, very busy week, both in terms of fun and a lot to do, but these guys have been pretty much on task from the moment they got here.
Non-stop foot on the gas, Brian.
There hasn't been a lot of movie time or whatnot. What's it like when you leave a camp like this? If you're a player, there's a lot of information. There's probably a lot of adrenaline still, of excitement of what this week had, but then you got to get back to business. You have to get back to your regular plans of getting ready for the fall.
Yep, and that's where that 5% retention comes into play, because it has been such a busy week for them.
As soon as they've relaxed and they've completely processed this and gotten it out of their mind, that's when their personalized DVD comes in from Scott Jones.
Right. We mentioned that yesterday. He'll put together film of all of these guys, telestrate, voiceover.
That's a great stop by Lindbaum on the redirect from Brabinets to keep it a 2-2 game with 1:45 left on the clock. Do you think he'll ask you? Now that Scott has gotten a chance to meet you, Ashley, you should be voicing over those videos.
I don't know. Have you heard your pipes, Brian?
You're a professional.
I don't know. Got a set of pipes on you. B-Mac, I think you're the guy.
If you do the video voiceovers and they retain 8%, that's bad news for Scott.
That might, might have a new day job.
Face-off one for Team White. Della Durante will leave it in that corner, and here's Guavin trying to escape pressure. Lost the puck as Estapa was all over him. Comes out to the blue line. Long wrist shot blocked in front as Wiley couldn't get it through. Final minute of development camp with the potential for the shootout that we were all asking for in earnest.
Hope we haven't hyped this up too much, Brian. They changed a little bit on us in this third period.
That's true. If they just don't have enough time.
Cut the period by about 5 minutes. Cut all the penalties to a shot rather than a power play.
That's true. What if there's not time for the shootout? They might say these guys have flights to catch. I'm not sure when these guys get out of town.
You talk about what this week must be like, how much of a whirlwind. Imagine for the guys who were drafted just last week. I know Matthias Sapovalev got on his flight to Vegas the very next day.
And that's where we say again, there's an element of orientation. When these guys leave here, they're going to feel like they're Vegas Golden Knights. They probably felt it at draft day, but they're going to really feel like it now.
And what a feeling that must be.
10 seconds left on the clock. We are tied at 2. It's been a very even weekend between teams red and white.
Good games.
General Manager Will Nickel, the architect of these rosters, as the last shot stopped by Whitehead. That'll do it for regular hockey. We'll see. Do we have a shootout in us?
Or will both teams win, like Little Hunter and Logan wanted?
Wouldn't that just be the greatest lesson of all?
Stick salutes.
Team Red is active. That might be it, folks. I think we've run our course here at development camp this week.
What an experience for all these young players. Getting to bond with these fans. Many of them will stick around, sign autographs, take photos. Of course, it's season ticket members today. These events were open to the public and free the previous 2 days, so good chance for everyone.
Good for the fans, good for these guys on individual level, and then again, part of this is creating that bond, getting to add some context to the VGK prospect family, because a lot of these guys will probably be here in the fall in one camp or another to get the 2022-23 campaign started, and there's going to be familiar faces that week thanks to this week. And what just the context of development camp juxtaposed against the busyness of free agency week in the NHL. It's a great sports week. Riley Smith is back in the mix, and now again to keep everyone in game day mode. Tomorrow's going to be a day of rest for all of us, but then Monday Riley Smith is going to be on the softball field as well, so the VGK can stay in the fan spotlight for a little bit.
Yes,
here.
Of course, for the Battle of Las Vegas. We've had battles between Team Red and Team White here the last 3 days. But Monday, Riley Smith and the boys take on the Raiders in a charity softball game next door here at Las Vegas Ballpark. Come out and cheer on the Knights as we all welcome Riley back for 3 more years. Visit battleforvegas.com for tickets as all the prospects pose for a picture. They've been battling, but of course now they're all part of the Vegas Golden Knights family. Brian, what do you take away? What's the biggest takeaway?
Well, first, I think what's kind of silly, just the camera angle we have. This isn't the view of the picture that they're going to put out there. They're
Right.
This.
You see the photographer Zach Krill, who's been working very hard all week.
It's kind of a cool photo from the back, even just seeing all the nameplates together.
Yes.
And again, some names that are going to be pretty important someday for VGK fans. My biggest takeaway from this, there's continuity in what you hear from the players and what you hear from the coaching staff in this development mindset, which is get them acclimated, small bites, don't overwhelm them with too much information, but making sure that the information that pertains to them, to each individual player, most importantly, sticks, and make sure that they leave here feeling like they're Golden Knights, but also being very aware of what their homework assignment is going into next season. And that's what you felt from this entire week, is that this was good for everyone on a get-to-know-you basis. But this is for many of them, for the guys who were just drafted a couple weeks ago, here's your launching point.
Right.
Here is your message of what I need to do to be an NHLer and be in this building all the time. For the players going back for the second and third time, how do I keep getting 2% better every year?
Exactly. And for those wondering what the path looks like from here, Scott Jones worked with these players a lot the first couple days of camp. We saw scrimmages these last 3 days, but early in the week, it was skills work. It was mechanics. And now he wants them to go back and not just practice, but be focused on the individual things they need to get better at. And that might look different for every player. He said some might have that 2% improvement, but you never know when there's going to be a Zach Whitecloud who has a 10% improvement. It's one of the best parts about development camp is you just don't know out of this group who could just really skyrocket and turn into something special.
And it doesn't end here. This is the most highly concentrated forum for this kind of development, but throughout the year, Will Nickel's going to be on planes, Scott Jones is going to be on planes, and they're not the only two, making sure that these players, wherever they end up, whether it's 20 minutes down the road in Henderson or whether it's in the far reaches of Canadian Junior, they're going to be on the radar. They're going to have constant back and forth with the development coaches, making sure that the lessons they learned here, the things they spoke about here, are going to be continuously re-implemented throughout the next few months.
Absolutely. It is a non-stop job for the VGK development team. They really do an incredible job, not only helping these guys on the ice, but being there for them off the ice every step of the way.
And just to drive that point home, these guys are taking a picture and saying goodbye to each other. Who's the guy right in the middle? It's Will Nickel. Will Nickel is always there, and deserves a tremendous amount of credit for what this week is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm hoping that Scott Jones, if he's sending out these personalized DVDs, maybe he'll send us a couple.
Be nice.
Yeah, I could use some pointers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my hands are in too close to my body here at the counter when we're talking. I think I'm not structurally sound, so I'll take any guidance Scott's willing to give.
Yeah, and there's Will Nickel with Archer Cholash, who's had an emotional year, to say the least. Not only has he grown tremendously on the ice, but hasn't been able to go back to Ukraine to see his family this offseason. Will Nickel takes such an interest in these players both on and off the ice, and of course he does not like when we only say his name. It is the entire Vegas Golden Knights development team.
We'd
love to hear what he's saying to them right now.
Yeah, the scouting team, this is a great reward for them after all the work they put in all year long, to see the players that they chose, that they drafted, here in action, and I'm sure reaffirming to see a player like Matthias Sapovlev have the kind of week that he had here. But seeing Will Nickel right now, and he knows each of these players. It's not that he knows their names. He knows these players inside out. Even the ones just a couple of weeks ago, he's still getting to know them, but he's going to know them like they're his students when he was a teacher.
Right. He knows.
He already does now. He didn't on Monday, and now he does, I'm sure.
Yeah, he not only knows their story, but he knows their personality, and that's what's important. Different kids, you have to approach things different ways, and the Vegas Golden Knights from the top down understand that. They're very good at working with the different personalities, individualized coaching.
How cool is this? We said Zach Krill is our photographer. They're taking a picture. Noah Della Durante and Luke Christ, both free agents here in camp, both from the ECAC. Della Durante is from Princeton, Chris is from Brown, and they wanted to make sure that they got a picture from development camp too. Again, they both hope that they're going to be back here in some capacity. But again, that just kind of shows that so many players from different walks of life know each other in some capacity, maybe some better than others, but the bonds that can be made during a short week here in Vegas.
Heck of a week for those college free agents too, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And both, I bet for some of them too, because some of them had really good showings this week. That's reaffirming. If they didn't get drafted, if depending on what kind of conversations they're having with different teams of what opportunities might come this fall, to come into a camp like this, play well, that's reaffirming of, yes, I am a pro player. I do have a pro future. And for players that are draft eligible, similarly, they hope that they're in a camp like this again next year, maybe this very same one, knowing that, hey, I've been through this before and I showed really, really well, and I contributed to whatever my stock might be a year from now.
Are you excited for the rookie tournament in September
or
what?
It can't come soon enough. It was so great to sit in here with you, Ashley, and get, be a hockey guy again for a couple of days. I'm running out of household chores that I can do. So we're back in the element. It feels good. Now we're going to go on a little bit of a reprieve again, but
no more laundry for Brian.
No more. Everything's pink now when I do the laundry anyway. If you fake incompetence once, you never have to do it again.
Separate those colors, Brian. And I want to give a big thank you as well, not only to you, but to the crew behind the scenes.
Everyone did a tremendous job, Ashley. Thank you.
Boyd's been doing an amazing job here in studio. Jeff Chavez, the entire video production team.
It's amazing how this can be thrown together, and it was a ton of fun for us. And we're just a short arm's length away from September and getting back into it seriously again.
Yeah, and guess what, Brian? It wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be doing any of this without you, the viewers. Thanks for tuning in this week. We hope you enjoyed Vegas Golden Knights Development Camp presented by Martin Harris Construction. We'll see you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning from City National Arena.